Hey guys, here in front of me I have the Legion 5i Pro. This is the 2022 model with a 3070 Ti and a 12700H processor. This laptop I've probably had in my possession for about 2 months now, and I've kind of just been sitting on it. This has kind of been one of my go-tos whenever I want to play a fast competitive shooter. There's a lot of stuff that's really good for it when it comes to that, and I'll slowly get into all of those things. This laptop, before I even start getting into the details, there's just nothing wrong with this laptop. There's nothing where I am saying, oh man, they need to fix that next year. There's a few nagging issues, and for the most part, there's workaround for all of them. I think it does everything at an 8 out of 10, but there's nothing really that takes it up to a 10 out of 10, except for maybe the performance for this 3070 Ti. From what I'm seeing, it is destroying every other 3070 Ti laptop. And when I say destroying, you're getting a handful of frames more than something like the Duo or maybe the Alienware X17 that I reviewed in the past. But you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just start talking about the build and the design. So again, this is another 7 or 8 out of 10. The lid is aluminum. It feels fairly sturdy, no wobble, no flex. I can tell that the grade of aluminum isn't as premium as something like the Razer Blade. Obviously, this is a totally different price class and a different use case to that laptop, so I don't like comparing it to that. In terms of comparing it to like the ROG G15 or M16, I would say maybe it's on par. I would still say that the ROG laptops typically have a better build quality, except for maybe something like the G15. Actually, you know, it's funny. The first time when I unboxed this laptop, I was like, whoa, they really improved the design. But then when I did some more research, it turns out that all they did was just switch from the Clone Trooper type logo in the front to just a Legion. I guess it's just like the little things that makes like a really, really big difference. It still has like this line like running through the left and right sides. There are some people who like that, who I've spoken to personally, compared to Legion 7, which is just like a flat, utilitarian looking laptop. So then on the other side of the lid, when you're looking at the bezels, they're really thin, and it actually does give for a much sleeker profile. It looks like a very modern laptop, and there's still some laptops out there who are suffering from larger chins and larger bezels. And, you know, that even includes like the Razer Blade, pretty much every MSI laptop. So it's really nice to see a nice modern look on this 16:10 display. And I also do want to say that the hinge is really nice and solid. There's no screen flex, not something I typically test for. It's not something I really feel like I need to test for, but there you go. And then making your way down to the keyboard deck, this is where you start to see a little bit of cost cutting to something like the Legion 7 from last year. The keyboard deck is plastic. Not a big deal. I don't think I'm bothered by it. I'm not seeing any flex on the keyboard deck. The only way you know that this is plastic is when you put your hands over it. It's not as cold as metal. But when you start gaming, because it's plastic, it doesn't really heat up. Not saying that the Legion 7 suffered from that, but that's just something else nice. And then now to the keyboard. And I know I've said in the past that MSI makes my favorite keyboards. They use SteelSeries, but I take it back. I forgot how good this keyboard was. This is a near perfect keyboard. Not only does it not feel cramped, you get a full number pad. The keys feel really nice and clicky. It feels really satisfying to type on. And there's just so many different function buttons. Like I noticed with some other laptops, there's no page up and page down. This has 2 of them. One thing I want to say about Lenovo is they're a corporate brand. They make laptops, hundreds and thousands of laptops for some of the largest corporations in the world. So they know how to make laptops for business users and for developers and programmers and video producers, etc. So when they design a keyboard or a laptop in general, they need to make sure that they cover a broad range of what a corporate user would need, whether you're on the development side, the executive side, the accounting side like me. So having a perfect feeling numpad is really, really amazing for me. On top of that, all of the secondary keys are lit up and they're nice and clear. The font doesn't look too gamery, still very professional. So this is essentially the same keyboard that's used in a lot of professional Lenovo laptops. So if you were issued one at your company, you might feel right at home with this particular keyboard. The trackpad is definitely plastic, but it's gliding so well. It's smooth and snappy. You know, it could be a bit larger, but it's more than large enough because it glides so well and it's so accurate. I am more than okay with the size of this trackpad. At the bottom, you're getting an aluminum build, which is nice. And next, I want to talk about the charger. I know I kind of spend a lot of time talking about the chargers in my laptops, but it is a mandatory accessory. And it's something that you have to carry around. It's part of the packaging. So I feel like it's part of the overall laptop experience. And I want to say that this is a 300-watt power brick. And it feels lighter than some of the 280 power bricks that I've used. And it's flat, which I do prefer because it kind of makes it a little bit easier to slip into a bag. So some of the other chargers might be a bit thicker, but then also thinner. This kind of flat pancake-like design does kind of benefit me a little bit to the point where I don't mind how large it is. And I like that the cord is sufficiently long enough. So right now I'm sitting in the middle of a fairly large dining room table and I don't have to have the charging brick right next to me because the cable's so short. And if I'm like laying in a bed or something, or if I'm trying to tuck the cord underneath a couch and I just want to sit on the other end of the couch, I don't have to worry about that. The cable's long enough. MSI and Asus really need to work on that. Like sometimes I don't even want to use their laptops because I don't have much mobility when I'm plugged in. All right, so next I want to talk about the display, which is my favorite section. This is a great display. For a gamer, I would say that it's a 10 out of 10. For a content creator, I would say it's a 7 out of 10 because you're only getting 100% sRGB, but you are getting 500 nits of brightness, and the contrast is sufficiently good. This is definitely one of the better displays out there if you don't require DCI-P3. One reason why I cannot use this as my daily driver is because of this display. Just because I'm doing a lot of creative work now, I kind of like to see my content being displayed at DCI-P3. So I'm really hoping that they can improve on that next year. And I also know that there's a 240 Hz QHD panel that may be in the Legion 7. I know it's available on some variants of the 2022 Legion 5, but I haven't really experienced it, so I can't talk about it. I can only talk about the 165 Hz panel, which is the same panel that they used last year. And I do want to also mention that this laptop does have HDR, but I want to give a little bit of a caution on that. It's not true HDR. HDR requires at least a DCI-P3 color space to really benefit from it. So you're getting some of the brighter highlights and some of the darker and deeper shadows. So it does create for a more punchier experience. And to 90% of the people out there, when you put this on HDR mode, you'll be blown away. But just know that this isn't true HDR. And after coming from the Duo 16, that HDR just hits you right in the face. Or when I was using one of the OLED laptops, that you can really see the difference. But it's just nice to have HDR here, but just don't believe that it's true HDR. One quirk I want to mention about the display is that it does have Advanced Optimus, which is nice, so you don't have to do a restart whenever you want to game. But with the moment you switch to dedicated mode using Advanced Optimus, you lose a lot of brightness to the point where I don't use it. If I want to game, I'll just go into the Lenovo Vantage software and change it from GPU working mode from hybrid to DGPU mode. Then from there you'll have to do a restart, and then from there you're going to be in dedicated GPU mode only. So I like that. In fact, I think this is the only laptop that I've ever used that gives you an option between Advanced Optimus and a traditional mux switch. So that's really nice. I just wish the Advanced Optimus mode was better tuned so you're not losing brightness. Okay, so really quickly, I just want to touch on battery. It's similar to every 12th gen laptop I use, at least the gaming laptops. The battery life isn't great. I can probably squeeze out 4, maybe 5 hours out of this. You can switch the resolution down to 60 Hz and that might help. But it's kind of all over the place. It's hard for me to really give you a good battery number because if you're just watching videos, you can probably squeeze more out of it. If the screen brightness is lower, then you can get even more out of it. But if you want to crank up to 500 nits and then go about your day, which is typically what I like to do, especially where I live, it's fairly sunny, your battery goes down. So it's hard for me to just give you a number But it's standard of every Intel 12th gen, which is mediocre at best. And if Windows' main competition is Mac right now, they are losing big time in that department. And this isn't Lenovo's fault. This is something that needs to get better really fast. I know Intel is trying to get down to 4 nanometers, and I just read that they're going to be delayed and they're not going to hit that until late 2023. So I'm thinking early next year, whatever the 13th generation is, might be a minor improvement on the battery front. So if battery is important to you and you want to stay with Windows, hopefully there's some good luck for us at the end of 2023. All right, so next I want to jump into the performance, and I'm not going to go through the typical suite and go over the charts like I do with every other video, because I recently did a 3070 Ti versus 3080 Ti versus 3060 GPU comparison, and I'll link that before. That was done on the Zephyrus Duo, and I did compare this laptop to that, and I did notice that this is getting a little bit more frames than the Duo. They both run at 150 watts with dynamic boost, but maybe it's the Intel chip, or maybe it's the additional 20 watts in the 300 watt power adapter, or maybe it's just something that Lenovo's doing where they're able to squeeze a little bit more performance out of the 3070 Ti. So where does that leave us? This is one of the laptops that I actually talk to a lot of people that I personally know and have a constant communication with. They've all had or still have the Legion 7 from last year, and some of them love it, and some of them kind of want to get rid of it because it's so good. It kind of just fades into the background, so you can actually just focus on what you're doing. And because of that, maybe because we're enthusiasts, that kind of makes it a little bit boring. There's nothing to look forward to in terms of, I hope that they fix this in a software update, or this is something that they could tweak next year. My issue is just because I'm doing more creative stuff right now, this kind of doesn't meet my needs for that. But as a gaming laptop, as a productivity laptop, or just even a laptop that you just want to use, this is just one of those laptops that it's hard for me to not recommend this. It depends on price, and I also want to touch on availability. So the way Lenovo does their stuff is they usually release their laptops a little bit later than everyone else. I think what they do is they just hoard as much GPUs and hoard as much Intel CPUs or AMD CPUs, and then they hit you with like a big dump. All of a sudden, there's like tons of inventory. They sell out of them within like a few days, a week, sometimes even a month. And if they don't sell out within that month, then they start slashing the prices, and then the cycle kind of continues all over again. So if you're in a position where you haven't seen inventory in a long time, just know that a drop will come and it'll hit hard, and you'll be able to get one. But this year might be a little bit different. I think that this laptop dropped 2 months ago. It's right now is July 9th, and this laptop came out 2 months ago, and I have not seen inventory restock since. And I'm kind of almost starting to think that they're holding on to all the parts so they could do a big drop on the Legion 7, and that's going to have the Intel HX chips. So, and I have seen some times where Lenovo will have some crazy sales to where you could get a Legion 7 for a Legion 5i Pro price. So it's really weird how Lenovo does things. They're so large, and people don't understand how large Lenovo is. Like, if you just Google Asus's revenue or Razer's revenue and then Google Lenovo's revenue, they're in a whole different ball game. So this is their entire gaming line isn't their big money maker the way it is for some of these other brands. So it kind of seems more like they're having fun with the Legion brand. It doesn't seem like they're taking it too seriously. But because they have all the R&D and making some of those workstations or those performance laptops that creators would use or engineers would use that need to run CAD, etc., they already have the experience in building high-performing laptops and dissipating heat and all that stuff. So for them to create a gaming brand, it's kind of like a side project for them. And I feel like that's kind of how they treat this. But thankfully, this is such a solid laptop. You're not waiting for a BIOS update to fix something like you are with, I hate to say it, like some Asus laptops. Everything just works. Everything is just what it is. And Lenovo's support system is amazing. Their on-power Dell even though I might say that they're a little bit better. So my outro is a bit of a rant, but it's something that I kind of think about a lot when it comes to Lenovo and how they handle their gaming brand. And that's just my perception of how it is. So let me know what you guys think. Is this a laptop you're looking forward to? Let me know in the comments. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments, and I'm typically answering all of them. If you like my video, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another one. Thanks. Bye.